Putin has already suffered quite a lot of strategic losses or defeats, if you like, in Ukraine. He will not want to let go of Kherson. It is a key place, and right to prove that he wants it, he is currently engaged in trying to reinforce the city with troops from elsewhere. But of course, they're already tied up a lot in eastern Donbass region, so it's taking time for him to reinforce Kherson. But I think that's where it will become a real battle once the reinforcements, if they're able to arrive. And remember that several of the bridges crossing the river to Kherson have now been damaged, not destroyed, but damaged. So it's going to be over the next week, I suspect. It's going to be an absolutely crucial time for both sides.
Recapturing Kherson has become an urgent priority for the Kyiv government, hasn't it?
It certainly has. President Zelensky has in fact said that he wants to recapture it by September. I suspect that's going to be quite a challenge. But it does underline how important he sees the role of Kherson and how it has to be recaptured. And of course, if you're looking at it from the Kremlin's point of view, it's absolutely key to Putin's plans that he retains hold of Kherson because of its location and its crucial role in providing logistics down through to Crimea, for example, which of course was annexed in 2014.
So give us an idea literally about how important this city, this area is, because it provides that route down to the crucial port on the Black Sea, which is seen as strategically significant for both sides, Mike, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, there's a lot of important strategic locations in Ukraine, but I think Kherson has now become the sort of place where people are focusing on. I wrote the other day that it could be a pivotal moment for the whole war. Well, I think it could well be. I think if you have to look at it from both sides, and Putin has already suffered quite a lot of strategic losses or defeats, if you like, in Ukraine. He will not want to let go of Kherson. It is a key place, and right to prove that he wants it. He is currently engaged in trying to reinforce the city with troops from elsewhere. But of course, they're already tied up a lot in eastern Donbass region. So it's taking time for him to reinforce Kherson. But I think that's where it will become a real battle once the reinforcements, if they're able to arrive. And remember that several of the bridges crossing the river to Kherson have now been damaged, not destroyed, but damaged. So it's going to be over the next week, I suspect. It's going to be an absolutely crucial time for both sides.
Yeah, the rhetoric's also been fierce from the Ukrainian side this week. A senior Ukrainian official told Russian troops to retreat, surrender, or be destroyed as Kyiv launched the campaign to retake this key southern region.
Yeah, and also the Ukrainians have been quite clever in putting forward what they claim to be Russian casualties. I think the last claim was they said they've killed 170 Russian soldiers in Kherson, and they've also destroyed a number of tanks. It's difficult, obviously, to confirm these figures, but I suspect they're probably pretty close to what has been going on in the last few days.
How important are the US HIMARS missiles that are being used at the moment? Because I understand that they use one to hit the 1,000-meter long Antonivsky Bridge, which is a very pivotal point, and it's now unusable, according to the UK Ministry of Defence.
Absolutely crucial. This piece of kit has really transformed the battlefield, if you like. It's not just its range, it's its power and it's its accuracy that has given the Ukrainians a very advanced weapon, which they can now focus on key things like not only the bridge, as you say, but on Russian ammunition depots and stores and other logistical locations. Once you destroy logistics and the supply line, of course, that will put the Russians under great threat. They don't want to destroy this particular bridge because obviously they will need the bridge themselves, the Ukrainians. It's to carry out their attack on Kherson. But at the moment, you're right. They have launched this multiple launch rocket system at the bridge, and they have stopped the Russians from using it.
Is the flow of weapons to Ukraine much more steady now?
I think it's been steady pretty well the whole time. I mean, I think you get the impression that the Americans and others have been very slow in getting equipment to Ukraine, and you're constantly getting Zelensky in his daily
Calling for more, calling for more, yeah.
for more and more rapidly. And although you can understand that, I think it's fair to say that as soon as the Pentagon gets an order, if you like, down through from the White House and the State Department to deliver the goods, I think they take literally 2 or 3 days to deliver it to, not obviously to Ukraine direct, but to places like Poland, in order to get the flow through. So I don't think there's any delay in getting it through. But the trouble is that the Ukrainians are using up munitions at a fantastic rate.
I see.
There was one point where they were firing 3,000 artillery shells a day. So they are literally trying to catch up with what they need, and they need more and more and more, and more quickly and more quickly.
And where are most of the weapons coming from, apart from the United States?
They're coming from all over. I mean, Britain and Canada and Germany and France, they're all supplying weapons, whether they're tanks or artillery or anti-aircraft systems or whatever. So they're pretty well every country in NATO and elsewhere are delivering weapons, and they are being done so through a very efficient scheme that's centered around a place in Stuttgart, which sort of manages to get them to the right place at the right time. And I think it's a comprehensive alliance program.
Mike, just before you go, because of the ground fighting nature of combat in this war, how much would you expect it to change as we get towards the colder months in the winter?
Well, it will largely depend on, first of all, them getting a sufficient number of weaponry. But you can't take a city without infantry. You need to have infantry involved. And so as the weather becomes worse, the role of the infantry will become more challenging. There's no question about that. I think this is why Zelensky has put this deadline of September on Kherson to try and recapture it, because trying to recapture a city of that size during the winter months obviously will be much more challenging. So I think you're going to get, as it were, a sort of rush campaign to try and capture the city before September.